Hi, my name is Courtney Bartho, and I'm going to immerse you in the world and life of Jim Henson and his famous Muppets. When you were a child, did you watch shows such as The Muppets or Sesame Street? Did you marvel at Kermit the Frog or Big Bird and wonder where they came from or who they were? Jim Henson, a 6 foot thin beard, gentle giant, was born in the Delta of Mississippi to Paul and Betty Henson in September of 1936 and moved to Maryland when he was 12 years old. Jim Henson comes from a long line of creative and artistic ancestry. The most influential, giving him the skills to create what would later be his life's work, was his grandmother, affectionately known as Dear. Because of this nurturing of Jim's talents, Jim became the creative force behind a new type of puppeteering, creating the Muppets. Most preschool-aged children have spent a considerable amount of time enjoying the wonderfully creative mind of Jim Henson. Henson captured the imagination and hearts of children and adults everywhere through his Muppets. As a child, I woke up early every morning to watch Fraggle Rock, Sesame Street, and the Muppets. These shows were not only an integral part of my childhood, but they entertained my young mind and fueled it academically with creative ways of funneling important information like the ABCs. I will explain to you the brief history of Jim Henson's life and describe to you what led to the operation and creation of the Muppets, Sesame Street, and Fraggle Rock. Firstly, we will discuss the ancestors and the demeanor and artistic abilities that led to the creativity of Jim Henson. Then we will discuss the creation of characters and shows. Jim's grandparents are credited with giving Jim his quiet, almost whisper-like speaking style and truly innovative humor. Jim's material would come from his maternal grandmother, Dear, a sewing wizard and painter, showing him how to create things with his hands, and to encourage him to try new material and broaden his creations. Jim's move from the Delta of Mississippi would prove to be a hard but necessary journey. With his move, he would now be closer to his mother's family and the epicenter of what would soon become the breaking ground of Jim's hidden talents. With the move and soon the start of high school, Jim would be involved in painting and creating many stage productions, backdrops, and posters. This constant production would lead Jim to realize what he would major in at the University of Maryland. Now that you know a little about Jim, the man, let's learn about Jim and his creations of some of the most iconic and memorable creations known as Muppets. Muppets are a fusion of puppets and marionettes. Jim created his first Muppet while still in high school and looking for employment at an internship at a television station. As soon as Jim created and presented his first Muppet, his career propelled forward and would never slow down. Jim's first show, Sam and Friends, would have one of the most successful runs of Washington, D.C.'s children's network. Sam and Friends would be the show that created the forming of what we now know as Kermit the Frog. Kermit, now known as a frog, started out as just a creature made from his mother's old coat and a sewing machine. Years of tweaking would turn this form into a host and most recognizable puppet today. Now that we have learned about the beginning of the Muppets creation, let's take a look at these iconic televised creatures.
It's the Muppet Show with our very special guest star, Miss Juliet Brown. It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Muppet Show tonight. Hey, have I got an opening joke for you tonight? You know you're gonna love this. It's too good of heart. To introduce our guest star, that's what I'm here to do. So it really makes me happy to introduce to you Miss Juliet Brown. get started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational. This is what we call a Muppet Thank you. Hey, listen, it's another great show, folks. I mean, tonight our guest star is one of the truly great dancers of the world, the one and only Miss Juliet Prowse. And if that weren't enough, we've also got Mana, whatever that means.
With the success of Jim's first creations, he will be commissioned to create and use Muppets for commercials, The Jim Dean Show, and The Tonight Show. Jim would also venture into more elaborate, though not successful, endeavors, but none would bring him as much success as his Muppets. Starting in the late 1960s, CTW, also known as Children's Television Workshop, would ask Jim to work as the creative director of a new series. This series was created to be a new way to bring funny and informative scenarios to children. This show would be known as Sesame Street. With the financial and marketing success of Sesame Street, Jim would have a new format and would be able to create one of the show's first on-cable networking premium channels, HBO. This show, which would run from 1982 to 1987, would be known as Fraggle Rock. Jim would finally be able to create movies, although not what he initially wanted to do, but these movies, Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, will become cult classics and create a following from a generation of children. Jim would suffer on a business trip in early 1990 and die of pneumonia. His Muppets will live on after his death. Since we've discussed the life of Jim Henson and discovered how his beloved characters were brought to life for children to enjoy, let's have a review of what we learned. Today, I informed you about the man who created legendary children's shows such as Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, and the Muppets. I gave you a brief history of his background in childhood in Mississippi and Maryland. We discussed the creation of characters known as the Muppets formed from marionettes and puppets. And I informed you about the television shows The Muppets, Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, along with the movies The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. Whether at home or in preschool and kindergarten, most of us have experienced the wondrous and imaginative world of Jim Henson and all that he gave the growth and imagination of children and culture in America and abroad. Now I will show you Fraggle Rock. I think that it was best said by Tim Saunders in the article, How One Man and a Frog Make a Difference. The Muppets have enriched the lives of countless kids and still live in the hearts of those who inevitably grew up. Any questions? Anybody? Nobody? No questions? Okay. Well, that concludes my speech. I'm Courtney Barfield for Speech Class.